Yo, welcome everyone to Weird Growth, the podcast where we hear about the strange and often unpredictable journey that founders take. The conversation doesn't stop here. If you want to stay one step ahead and unlock access to exclusive insights, thought-provoking summaries of our latest episodes, and a curated collection of valuable resources from across the web, don't miss out on Ammo Marketing and our monthly newsletter. Please subscribe to the newsletter by the link in the description. This episode is a very cool one. This is a little bit of a follow-up on the journey of WeMoney. We have Matt Ikin, who is Head of Growth and Partnerships at WeMoney, which is a financial wellness platform and app that tracks all your money in one place. You can track your credit score, bills, recurring payments, understand your savings, debt, and monitor your income through a complete tool set that can make your dollar go further and keep you in the black. This is cool because we had the founder Dan on about 2.5 years ago when WeMoney was a fledgling startup. It was maybe only a couple of months old, and now we're really privileged to welcome Matt Ikin, who is the head of growth at WeMoney, to the table. Thanks so much for being here, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Cam.
It's going to be a fun chat because we can, if you go back to episode 18 in June 2021. Dan told us about how some of the tactics that he used to get some of those early customers first launching WeMoney, and it's going to be fascinating to hear about how you've grown since then. So how many users are you at now?
We've just surpassed 500,000 downloads here in Australia, and when Dan would have originally come on, we would have been in the sub sort of 50,000 territory.
That is unbelievable. Congratulations, mate. That is epic growth.
Thank you.
For in an Australia only sense, that's unbelievable. That's what, like, percentage points of the population of Australia.
Yeah, definitely. Or 5 MCGs.
Yeah,
which is a good sort of
5 MCGs
benchmark that I use in my head.
For anyone not in Australia, MCG is Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is our biggest stadium, I guess. Yeah, mate, that's amazing visualization. Congratulations. So we'd love to learn more about how you've achieved that amazing growth with WeMoney. But first, please introduce yourself and how have you come to do what you do?
That's a great question. Well, I'm Matt from WeMoney, Head of Growth and Partnerships, and I started the business about 2.5 years ago. We just launched on the App Store at that point in time, and I knew Dan, our founder, from previous years working in Perth. Financial services is not a massive arena. And when he sold his first business, Switch My Loan, to Pioneer Credit, I was at Pioneer Credit at the time. I started out in uni in the mailroom, opening letters, and that sort of took me on a journey through my degree. I was studying finance, studying marketing, and I thought, well, I could do marketing at a financial services business, and that's where I really cut my teeth, working on a lot of sort of financial solutions for the Australian market, whether it's online payment platforms, credit score trackers, PFM at the time, which is a really, really new concept.
What's PFM?
Personal finance management, which is a category of apps where people can go and manage their money, similar to what WeMoney does now, but sort of worked on our first version of that together about 6 or 7 years ago, which is a really, really new concept.
There you go. Very cool.
And so now at WeMoney, lead the growth team and also working across revenue operations and partnerships as well.
Yeah, amazing. Really love to hear a little bit later on about how you have gone about growing that growth team and what the functions are and how you've sort of managed that. That'll be fascinating. Before we get stuck into that story, though, I have a little pop quiz, which is something we do on Weird Growth. If you were just theoretically to start a new business from scratch, a new startup, what would you be doing and who would you be helping?
It's an excellent question.
Are there any problems that you've got like mulling around in the back of your head, or just something that you would be passionate about doing?
Well, a lot of my focus on new ideas that sort of pop up in my head at the moment are very, very centered around WeMoney. It's a heart and soul thing for me, and if I'm sort of thinking of a problem to solve, it usually leans in that direction. One that really sort of does pop into my mind, which is a little bit more common in America at the moment, where maturity around credit scores is really, really prevalent. Is around something where people can come to help build up their credit score. And I know there's more traditional ways of that, like WeMoney, where you can track it over time and sort of figure out what goes into it. But there are some more advanced sort of businesses and ways to do it, that are live in America right now, where you can actually take very credible steps with sort of saving up in a reverse loan type fashion.
Cool.
And it increases your credit score over time. And I think that would be a really interesting thing to see up here in Australia.
Yeah, cool. Credit score is one of those interesting things. It does seem like people are probably more aware of it in the US and they probably care more about it because loans are such a big part of people's lives. You got student loans and things like that. What's the importance of a credit score? Just as
the importance of the credit score is it's very sort of at its simple form is a overall picture of your financial sort of health and credit in one number.
Okay.
And the way that credit scores work in Australia is that you start off in a sort of middle of the road position, doing positive things like making repayments on time to any sort of loans and cards that you've got, do help that potentially increase over time. And making lots and lots of applications for credit can do the opposite, or missing repayments and those sort of things. And usually it's one of the first things that a lender would look for when they go, well, are we going to go through the process of asking for all of this information about your income, where you live, what other loans you've got, and they're able to get that in a very quick snapshot from your credit score to determine is it sort of worth our sort of resources to go through that.
So you just got this third-party entity which tracks your credit over your life, basically, so that other financial institutions can go, oh, there's one indicator where we can use to trust whether or not we should loan you money, basically.
Definitely. And then, once you sort of pass that sort of step and hurdle, there's all these other questions, say through the application process, which is how long have you lived at your property? How much money do you earn? How much money do you spend? And it becomes into a much more traditional process around, can you afford the product?
Yeah. It's one of the, I reckon most people in Australia would have no idea what their credit score is, right? It's one of the cool things that I love about WeMoney is I get a live feed virtually from 2 different rating agencies of what my credit score is. It's a bit of a nerdy kind of like metric thing, I suppose. And I was I look at it probably, once every couple of weeks, my WeMoney app. And then about a year ago, funny thing happened. I was buying some equipment for this podcast room, funnily enough. And I was in at Manny's, the DJ store or whatever it's called. And their FPOS system went down. The only way I could buy something was by signing up for Afterpay, because I'd never used those Afterpay kind of things. And so I signed up on the spot, paid with Afterpay, all sweet. Checked my WeMoney score a couple of weeks later, and I had a tiny little blip down. It was obviously because I'd applied for a loan product, I suppose, and it was just one little thing that affected the credit score. It's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And there are even instances over time where it's not a score that you have forever. And there's definitely room to, improve it, or it can go down too. And, what we see over time at WeMoney, which is really exciting, is that the average member increases their score by 63 points in the first 9 months of being on the platform. The really exciting thing about that is that there's a moment of knowing what something is, and like setting, say, any goal or wanting to go and achieve something, by mid next year, for example. By actually seeing it in front of you, knowing what it is, you suddenly know all the attributes that are going into it. And then as, say, old inquiries fall off, or there's, some history from, say, 5 years ago on there, which is sort of no longer relevant to who you look like now to a bank, that's something that does actually improve your score. And we're very, very pleased by actually helping people to increase their score over time on the platform. What
gets measured gets improved.
Definitely. And when you're getting the score every single month, it's a great sort of reminder and check-in for people to come back and see, what are the differences between 2 different credit bureaus in Australia, which score is more important to me for the types of products that I want to apply for. And
So at its core, is that what WeMoney is? Is that the problem that WeMoney is solving for your customers, or what is the main problem that you're solving?
Well, the ultimate problem that WeMoney is solving goes sort of much further back to very, very sort of deep-rooted problems that exist in people's life around status, around belonging, around relationships, and finance is usually at the center of a lot of those things, Cam. And that's really the absolute core problem that we want to solve. You know, it's a great feeling when a member has their credit score increased, but being able to actually do something with that which helps them have a sense of accomplishment around saving more money, buying their first home, being in a really comfortable position where they're able to, say, move out of home and start renting. And that then is able to strengthen their social relationships because they've got a place where they can invite friends over and they're very proud of.
Yeah.
And even, you know, buying a home with a partner, for example, and strengthen those relationships too. And also have a community or a very well-lit, authentic place in the platform where people can talk about money and finances in a way that they feel really comfortable. And it's the problems that we're solving are far more sort of deeply rooted at the core of human nature than just helping sort of
just
someone wave around a higher credit score.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful that you have that insight into customers. And you're right. You think about things like the barefoot investor and all this sort of stuff, which is about just giving people a bit of clarity and confidence about how to handle their finance. And you guys have tapped right into that because it leads to a better life if you've got that confidence. Yeah, it's wonderful what you're doing. Just as a bit of a recap, I guess, before we get into where you're at with growth now, how did WeMoney reach its very first customers, and how did you sort of identify that, hey, we're onto something here?
Two questions. Well, I wasn't there when we had our first customer on the platform, so we'd been on the App Store for a couple of months by the time I joined. But what I sort of understand, and we speak about the story quite openly with Dan and others who were sort of around at that point in the journey, was initially starting off getting a wait list going of people that wanted to
bit of pent up demand,
be sort of generally interested in it. And during that waitlist process, there was also a component where they were talking about the sort of features that they wanted and what would really interest them as part of the product. Now, there's points to answer your second question. When you know you're really onto something, being in a startup environment, you really have to look back to sort of realize that you could be onto something. And what I mean by that is that in the moment, you're rough and ready, hands on keys, you're in the office all the time, you're going, things could always be better, things could always be better.
Yep.
And you've often, and these are sort of pressures that people put on themselves because they really want to hone their craft and they really want to achieve. But it really takes a moment of looking back retrospectively, say it's the end of a month or a quarter or a year. And when you really hit these milestones, like sort of getting to 500,000 downloads in Australia, you sort of think back and go, oh, wow, that is really significant. That is really exciting. It's a lot of people that we're able to help.
Absolutely. I think as a quick recap of my memory of what some of the things that Dan did, there was some unconventional PR tactics that were pretty cool. You needed to find a way to cut through the traditional sort of, you don't just want to go straight to advertising at that stage. And it was wonderful that you had that early sort of wait list almost of people that you could fine tune the product before it launched, but also they were going to be your early customers as well. And you could then have that sort of base of momentum to build on. And, we talk about this a lot on this podcast where a lot of people go out and launch an app and they put it out in the App Store and they get 0 downloads. And it's because they haven't been close enough to the customers to that point to get that momentum early on. And so Dan did a really masterful job of doing that at the start.
Definitely. So, and we've adopted a really similar approach throughout the last 3 years as well. And
so what are some of the things that are working or have worked from that point to get you to where you are now?
Well, I think one of them straight off the bat, which, most people that come onto this podcast would say, or any podcast in Australia is saying, speak with your customers. And we speak with them very, very regularly, whether it's directly or indirectly. Directly, hosted session where it's a one-on-one interview with them about what they love, what they think could be better, and then also indirectly through App Store reviews, through bug reports, through them contributing and posting in the community, responding to emails from us, and you can get a really, really good sort of sense from that around what people love and want more of.
Yep.
I think one of the things that sort of also goes really underrated through this whole process, that throughout the last couple of years is really dawning on us is the effects of brand that come into it. And I know we often sort of think as growth marketers to be optimizing button color, to be working on landing pages, to making sure that social creative is absolutely spot on and performing as well as it can. And whilst all of those things are really important, the importance of brand has become really, really prominent for us, especially from not only a member perspective, but also from a partnerships perspective as well, where you build a reputation in the industry that this is the place that a lot of Gen Z millennials, are going.
Yep.
And it's also, a great way for us to help other brands to get exposure to these types of customers as well. And we've done a recent piece of survey with non-WeMoney members.
Okay.
And really curious around sort of in that 18 to 35-year-old category.
Yep.
Completely unprompted. Do you know what WeMoney does? Have you heard of WeMoney before? And overwhelmingly, it was 42.3% of Gen Z millennials, 18 to 35, had heard of WeMoney. That's
remarkable.
And it was really, really profound for us to understand that. And we had a lot of thought internally around, is it because we spend a lot on paid advertising or influencer or PR or all of these things? And I think what it really comes back to is when you're solving a very core, deep-rooted problem for people, and you actually combine that with a product that helps them achieve that, it's a really, really remarkable thing that builds a fantastic brand for you. And it's not so much about your logo and your colors, but it's really around what you stand for. And when people think of WeMoney, they immediately will think, well, they're always on my side and they're here to help me get better with my money and finances. And people really like that sense of companionship that is very difficult to build in a digital experience.
Yeah, mate, well said. It goes back to that old Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And the fact that you guys do have that close understanding of the core motivators for your customers is so critical. So what are some of the practical things you've done to grow that brand awareness and sell what that brand message is for WeMoney?
I think consistency is really, really key. And it's similar to a sandcastle, let's say. It can take you all morning at the beach to build, but it can be very, very quickly eroded if you either, do something wrong or decide to go and build another sandcastle, or you build it in the wrong spot and a wave comes in. So consistency has been a really key thing for us around we're a mobile app. This is the reason that members come to the platform, and our really core offering of budgeting, account aggregation, credit score tracking, and community has only improved over that time, and we've only sort of added to that stack. I would say that's really like the really, really key thing that occurs, and it's not brand awareness campaigns. It's not above the line billboards for us and those sort of things. What it is hyper consistency across places where we know that we can get in front of Gen Z millennials and where they spend their time, and showing a very consistent message.
And so what are some of the more tactical things, I suppose, that you do to get in front of those people and then communicate what that brand offering is? One of the sort of really big ones for us is around you can get paid ads and influencer and those sort of things. But what you can also have, which is very, very powerful and doesn't happen as much as we would like in conversations around money and finances, is people telling their friends about it and building something that people actually want to talk about, and rewarding them for that process has been a really, really wonderful way of how we grow. So build an amazing product, be very focused on the feature set that you offer, be really good at delivering those features, and then that product-led growth where people will tell their friends about the quality. And then do you have a referral incentive? We do. We do have a referral incentive. And I think, often people sort of think if I build something so great and marvelous, people will immediately tell their friends. And I think that's, correct to a certain extent. But there are parts of it where you can tell people to tell their friends. You can incentivize them to tell their friends, and especially when something's not as conversational, people don't go to barbecues on the weekend and talk about
money and finances with their friends, you have to sort of, start planting that seed in their mind that they can go and tell someone about this, and you're going to get rewarded for it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where that conversation can then, flow on and start from.
Yeah, nice one. One of the other things that you've done is started to grow a growth team. And, the sort of traditional, I suppose, journey that startups go on with building out their growth function is initially the founder does it. The founder does everything. Then a founder might hire one team member who, maybe split the responsibilities. One person focuses on tech, one person focuses on business. And then you might have someone who's just responsible for customer acquisition overall and, engagement, the customer focused kind of person. And then you might get someone who's a specialist in just all the social media and digital marketing and the look and feel of the brand. And then you split up those functions over time into individuals. How have you guys gone about building your growth team?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, when I first started at the business, mm-hmm. I joined predominantly around monetization and product and partnerships and sort of helping us make our first dollar. And what we uncovered, during that process was a big part of that, is dependent on how we grow. So growth sort of came into my arena during that time.
You inherited that one, yeah.
And marketing wasn't something that was unfamiliar to me. I was a marketer by trade. I'd done it for many, many years, and the tools felt really natural in my hands. So sort of the way that I think a lot of people sort of would have a bias towards recruitment is a lot towards skill set. And you can either build out a team with people that are specialists or people that are generalists. And one thing that we've found over time in our sort of journey at WeMoney, the thing that really, really matters more than any of those things, and they are very important, that someone sort of knows what they're doing and they can go and achieve that, is the mindset.
Yes.
And working in a startup, definitely has, especially when it's high growth from the outset, there's a lot of appeal to it. It's glamorous.
Sexy.
You're growing like crazy.
Yeah.
There's satin bomber jackets and all of that is heaps and heaps of fun. Yeah. But when you actually look behind the curtain, it's lots and lots of hard work.
It's grind.
And it is a grind. And what we've found, which is just absolutely remarkable in the team that we have now and the team that we're building out, is there is a mindset in all of those people that they really want to win. They're obsessed with their craft, and they're the sort of people that reach a fork in the road of, I've never done something before, and that's very, very common. Mm-hmm. We're doing a lot of things for the first time here at WeMoney, and they reach a fork in the road, and there's people who will go, I haven't done that, so I can't do that. And there's people that will go, I can give this a go for the very first time, and by doing something is better than doing absolutely nothing. And they are the people that we are so magnetic with. They love it because the existing teams like it when we bring new team members in, but they win. They absolutely win. They care about everyone around them. They are incredible at what they do, and their growth opportunities as an individual, they just know absolutely everything within 6 months because they're so proficient in going, I'm just going to give it a go, and I'm going to feel very, very supported to do that.
Yep.
And that's really what's built absolute winners here at the team.
Yeah, it sounds like you're describing that old book, Growth Mindset versus Fixed Mindset. Fixed Mindset people, they've not done something before, so they'll be a bit scared of it, and because they want to avoid failure at all costs. Growth Mindset people are going to realize that they can always improve, and by giving things a shot, then you're going to keep getting better.
Definitely.
And lift those around you as well. So what are some of the, how do you identify that type of personality?
There's a few ways. The sort of first part of it is understanding their skill set, and and that's core competencies of, have you worked doing influencer and social and paid ads and creative or partnerships, and that's really the first part. I think the second part is what their background of them as a human is, and whether it's their sort of work experience or their lived experiences. Have they been in a business that we really, really admire the way that they grow? And it might not be in financial services, but it could be in a business that has done really remarkable things here in Australia, and that has gone from either very tough times, or they're small and are suddenly now very substantial, and they've been on that journey and know what tough work feels like. They know what growing pains feel like. They know what good days and bad days feel like. But I think really at the core of it is what really motivates a person to do what they want to do, and you can sense that they're obsessed with their craft. And I would more look at where they are versus where they want to be than just where they are. The people who are very, very ambitious about wanting to do marvelous things in their career are the ones that we look for, but have also lived some tough experiences, some adversity in their life, and that's a very common thing at a startup and any business. And suddenly, at larger businesses, you got a lot more shoulder pads on, but at a startup, it's
you're not going to be coasting.
It's a full contact sport most of the time.
Yep. Okay, so can you just talk me through some of the practical roles that you have in the growth team and what those people might do day to day?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the part that's really important is the way that we grow and orient the team sort of changes as we grow. Yeah. And I think what we've done a great job of so far is having people in the team that are specialists in 2 or 3 things, and then generalists at another 5, so that they can sort of flex into other areas when they need to.
Okay. So example, you might have someone who's good at design, maybe video editing, but then they can also help create social media content, maybe a bit of copywriting, something like that. Is that what that would look like? Yeah,
definitely. We've got someone in the team at the moment by the name of Marge.
Yep.
She's absolutely fantastic at what she does.
Yep.
And she works across social, community, influencer, and as a absolute patriot of our brand, and really, really carries that forward. And that's a role where in some periods we might be leaning into one of those channels more than another, and having someone that is dynamic to go and further into those areas and not into others on any given month is really important. Other parts that we've got within there, customer support sits within the growth function. It's very, very important.
Why is that?
We have our ear to the ground instantly on every sort of great thing and challenge that's going on in the product.
Yep.
And also, when we've got, ads out in market and people talking about us in market, we can also keep a very close sort of ear to the ground on how that's being received and recepted.
Brilliant.
And it also sort of links to the reviews that we get publicly on the App Store, for example.
Yep.
Other, people that we've got in the growth team as well is people that contribute and help us across our paid ads. For example too, which is a really big specialty, and we're actually out in market looking to grow the team. Someone to come and work on content with us.
Brilliant.
Someone to come and also work on performance marketing and a few other sort of engineering roles. But one part that we really, really love to do is foster success from a young age and identify that talent. And we've got people in the team now who have started with us as, midway through their university degree, started off, and now they're sort of moving through into full-time senior roles, running revenue lines and those sort of things, which is really exciting. And we're really big believers in having an internship program that can help people join a startup in its mid to early stages. They're going to help us grow, and we're going to help them grow too.
So good. Because you can help them acquire those skills over time, as long as they have the demeanor and the right personality to fit in with the journey that you guys are going on. But they're also going to have that real deep understanding of your customers and why.
Definitely.
That's really good, mate.
And it really helps as well when, because we're doing a lot of things for the first time, a lot of them that we've taught ourselves, is sometimes great to have people that are, very new and very open-eyed to learning as many new things as possible.
Yep.
And their sort of only way of working, in the first part of their career as our way of working. And that works really well as well because, sometimes when you find people that come from other businesses that do something completely different way of working, and then sort of bring that and infusing that with our sort of pursuits, sometimes that's a learning process that can take months.
Can it impact culture as well? So I've never actually thought about it like that. So running an agency at Ammo, we have done that a lot as well, where we've hired someone straight out of uni and, they've learned on the job and we've learned together and, acquired skills over time. And then when we bring someone in who has been at an agency before, we are not a traditional agency. We're almost an anti-agency, and it definitely shakes up the culture because there's a certain way of doing things, maybe some would call the right way at an agency. But that's not, we don't want to be like another agency, and that does definitely shake up just the cultural dynamic in good and bad ways. Yeah. Mate, two things that I'd love to deep dive a little bit in just on the growth tactical side, if it's cool, is influencers and the part of your title about partnerships and why that's been so core to your growth as well. So influencers makes sense intuitively, I guess, for the side of the market that you guys are on. But can you just talk me through how that's worked for you guys, what lessons you've learned about engaging with influencers, what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, definitely. So influencers is one, for us that started off with a sort of inorganically with people mentioning us out in market.
So they're just your fans.
These people happen to have, followers, relatively small followers, and they had a great deal of sort of pull and influence with, they'd share a message and people listen.
Yep.
And that message happened to be We Money, and we've been very big supporters of people speaking about us, out in market and having real sort of lived experiences with the product. It's a very visual experience. It's in your hand.
Yeah.
You need to see it. You can, hearing about something like We Money on the radio, you sort of go, I sort of need to see it to sort of figure out how it all works.
Yeah.
And having a real life experience as someone who has saving up for a home loan is, a great way for someone to share our message and journey about a real story.
Yeah, and you can relate to it. You can experience it through their eyes. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. And that can range everyone from, say, larger non-finance related profiles. Everyone's got money in finances.
Yeah.
Some people it could be around, sort of fitness influencers talking about financial fitness, or it could be a core finfluencer.
Yep.
Speaking about us to a either more niche audience that's very, very interested in these sort of topics.
And so the content that they create, we talk about UGC or user generated content. How do you deploy that to maximum effect?
Well, there's one part of user generated content which is them making a video for us and us using that across our own channels. Okay. And then there's other parts of them speaking their own message and sharing that on their own channels, so core
reaching their audience,
influencer work. And I guess both are content that's generated by the user, but there is a little bit sort of, difference. One, would be used, say, in paid ads.
Yep.
And, how do we, deploy that in a sense of, number one, sign up to the app, give it a go and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Is this something you want to talk about? Because you can really see in someone's eyes when they really believe in the product that they are promoting. Set it up. Get your money and finances in there.
People have a pretty finely tuned bullshit detector. They can see when it feels like it's an ad or when it feels like it's an actual testimonial.
Definitely, and especially when you're relating to Gen Z millennials across places where they get very, very quick, short, sharp volumes of news, entertainment, TikTok articles. Their radar and sensitivity to that sort of thing is so much higher. Adding a layer to that as well, money and finances immediately sets off feelings of we've got to build into their safety and security. And
it's got to be a high level of trust. Yeah,
definitely. And thankfully we've had accolades over the years. We've got a lot of users that love to speak about how fantastic it is. But that's also another part is around that sort of safety and security component, which we're very forward and progressive on, and very, very sort of open around how we market the app and talk about how safe and secure it is, and all our accreditations and those sort of things, which is really important for young people coming to the platform.
Yep. What I'm hearing is that the influencer content that might be created almost organically without you going out and directly prompting them sounds like it's more effective than the stuff where you go out and, you know, maybe reach out to someone and invite them to promote WeMoney. Or is there a rule of thumb there at all?
There's no rule of thumb.
Yep.
There's no rule of thumb.
How do you figure it out?
Sometimes, you know, before the fact, you don't have 100% certainty.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're open and at peace with. You know, you compare that to, say, a paid ad.
Yeah.
You get a quite high degree of certainty once you've been running something for a couple of months. You sort of know what tomorrow is going to look like and the day after, unless something goes pear-shaped. You know, but influencer can be received in a few different ways. Sometimes very rarely negatively, but, you know, either the algorithm decides to not show your video to lots of people, or sometimes it really, really hits. And I think as of last month, we had about 22 million views on TikTok for the WeMoney hashtag.
Holy moly.
And a lot of that has come from crowdsourced content of people out there talking about WeMoney, using the WeMoney hashtag.
Yep.
And now that's sort of almost our second channel, which is, you know, we've got our own profile, and then you've got the WeMoney hashtag, which is sort of our crowdsourced channel that we've got. So
good. That's amazing. Well, before we go into partnerships, maybe we should just talk about a little bit about TikTok. It's pretty topical. My background's in politics, running election campaigns, and it's controversial to be, you know, amongst some, you know, parts of the population about using TikTok. New Zealand just had an election last weekend, and the party that won there owned the TikTok game. They did a really incredible job. They had, you know, New Zealand's a pretty small population, but most of their TikTok videos had sort of in the order of 500,000 views. And they were doing things which you wouldn't expect politicians to do on social media. It feels a little bit cringy, but it worked. So how important is TikTok to you guys now? It's obviously increased in importance over time, but, you know, how does that compare to Instagram and Facebook and the other channels?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's funny you speak about it sort of more broadly around like politicians, and even, you know, either more traditional banks or finance brokers and all of these types of people that are now sort of coming to TikTok because they know it's, you know, a real sort of meeting place and sort of at the forefront of how 18 to 35-year-old Australians are getting news, they're getting updates, they're interacting with friends, they're learning about new restaurants to try, they're learning about, you know, what clothes are the hottest or nottest, and also a place for politicians now, which is really, really interesting. And I think that brands that can sort of tap into that cultural sort of zeitgeist of what's going on there, it can really, really work for. And I think sometimes that sort of content can feel a little bit uncommon or unfamiliar to do for the first time because it can feel a little bit goofy. It can feel a little bit out of place. You're really putting yourself out there to a place that, you know, you could get, you know, 100 views and you're kind of embarrassed that it's not as high as you thought it would be, or 500,000 people see it within a day and you're going, now I'm an all different kind of embarrassed. And this isn't something we've sort of felt at WeMoney, but, you know, generally you're putting yourself out there into a place that could just take your content and run with it.
Yeah. Well, there's a new Prime Minister of New Zealand. There's video of him in like a tuxedo top and tie and jacket, and then just in his jocks from the bottom down. And I'm like, mate, you're the Prime Minister. Did you delete that TikTok like thread or what? And then there's another one who's like eating Minecraft blocks and all of this stuff, which when you think about it, actually it works because it makes him human. And that's what people want of their politicians. They don't want them to be the stuffy guy behind a lectern delivering a speech. They want them to be relatable and approachable. And I think you know, if you're going to be that sort of brand where you do relate to other people, then it's a great tactic to use.
Definitely. And I think that authenticity component that TikTok sort of forces you to lean into is amazing too. It sits as part of the set for us. And, you know, there is different styles of content that we would have on TikTok than we'd have in other channels in the same way that we would create something for Instagram or Facebook or any of the other, probably 25 plus places that you could
Yeah,
pay to put in.
But you must learn
days.
things about what works on TikTok in terms of content, and then be able to use that and borrow that and pop that on a reel on Instagram, for example.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the authenticity part is really key. As I mentioned before, WeMoney's very visual experience.
Yeah,
showing it.
Yeah,
and not being afraid to be a little bit provocative without stepping on anyone's toes, without being insulting, but do something you usually wouldn't try and give it a go. And
you can have a big swing, and maybe 1 time out of 5 it'll really go well, but at least you're getting that learning loop, I suppose, of what content's engaging.
Yeah, definitely. And I think particularly for international businesses, which would be really fascinating in terms of TikTok, is that the geographical distribution is insane compared to something like Facebook or Instagram, which is very sort of confined. You post something, it shows to other people in Australia.
Right.
On TikTok, suddenly I'm sitting there watching content from a hot dog eating contest in upstate New York, which I never would have seen anywhere else.
Interesting.
But the geographical distribution is very, very wide, which you can play to your strengths or can be challenging when you, in an organic sense, where you can sort of get activity and interest from all parts of the world.
On a tangent.
That you as a Australian service can't necessarily help.
Love it. So partnerships, part of your role title. What is so important about partnerships for WeMoney for your growth?
There's a couple of different sort of parts. There's partnerships of how we grow and brands and places that we partner with who refer customers to WeMoney.
Okay, so what sort of examples would you have of those?
One of them being the RAC.
Okay,
for example.
Yep.
They've got a member benefits portal, and we're featured on there among many other brands, whether it's fuel discounts, whether it's discounts at say sort of maintenance hardware store,
Yep.
or it's go and improve your money and finances on WeMoney and being there. For example, is one.
Yep. So you're tapping into that membership base and access to those people, but also the trust and the brand of that third party, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And also, thinking about other places where you sort of have people in the mindset of thinking about their money and finances, cashback sites, deals and discount sites, and those sort of things are another part of where people are in that mindset thinking about money and finances. Who are the people that really want to budget? It's probably the same person that's wanting to save 5 to 10% on household goods and products. It's another part of how we grow.
So there's that adjacency, I suppose, side of things.
Definitely.
Quick tangent. I'm 36, I think, maybe 37. I have to check. But what is Cashback, and how does that all work? Because I've heard of that sort of springing up. Maybe Phoebe, you know about it, being decade younger or two. But yeah, how is that? Why has it taken off?
Well, I think at its core, people love getting value out of things, particularly when they're already purchasing them.
Okay.
And essentially what Cashback is there are certain sites across Australia. They've got a whole range of brands on them. It could be everything from going and buying a new computer to buying a new pair of headphones, grocery shopping, buying a new lamp on Amazon or eBay or that sort of thing. And it essentially means that a proportion of your purchase will be refunded to you. Now, a lot of the sort of merchant brands that appear on there are using it as a tool for growth, and their cost of acquisition is actually the percentage that they're giving back to the user.
So they pay that as their marketing cost.
Essentially, and well, it's how I understand it to work. In terms of it's a place where people go to shop for things they're already going to shop, and they're able to get more value and cash back from those places that they're already going to go and spend $500 at.
Cool. I have to sign me up for one of them. So what other sort of partners, or how else do you guys tap into those other adjacent organizations that are aligned with what you guys are all about?
Well, the other side of it is helping our members to access better financial products on the platform.
Got it.
WeMoney is not a bank. We don't write the loans ourselves. We don't give out the money.
Yep.
But there are some amazing brands in Australia that go and do that. And when we're able to go and identify who they are, you would have heard of a lot of them, and essentially providing our members access to a place to get a better rate on their savings account, to refinance their home loan so that their repayments are lower or they can pay it off sooner over time, to switch their energy to a provider that is, potentially cheaper, or, compare different types of health insurances that otherwise they might not have thought that they could go and see that there's lots of other options, out there in Australia. And that's something that we do on behalf of our members. And that's, really, really important to us around how we sort of curate those partners and bring them onto the platform, because it helps our members get access to products that not only does WeMoney really believe in, but sort of the general Australia population believes in, and we can help them, progress this at a stage in life through these other sort of products that are available.
Yeah, and assuming added bonus is part of your monetization strategy, is that sort of lead generation on behalf of those products?
Definitely, yeah. Yep. So it's completely free for our members
to
use that and compare. And it's one of the ways that we make money, which we're very open about in the platform, of course, and very upfront about. But it is one of the ways. Yeah,
that's how you provide an awesome service. Is by being able to with integrity provide those recommendations based on people's unique position.
Definitely,
you've got that insight into their position. Yeah.
Integrity is at the absolute core 100%. of the types of products and the brands that we work with are ones that we really believe in, and often actually go out and ask our members who have used these products and services, what do you think of it? And they have really great sort of learnings for us on that we have made the right decision to bring a certain sort of brand and product onto the platform, and that only sort of validates us. The brand loves to hear it as well, and our members win, and they save more money. They've got 5 different personal loans, and they're able to combine them into one, and that means that they've got a little bit of extra money to go on holiday with their family.
Yep,
we get sent videos like that from our members all the time, and it just warms our heart. It just is the most incredible thing to witness firsthand.
So rewarding. Yeah, makes it all worthwhile. One of the other genius things I think that you guys do, and I only know because I'm privileged enough to be a judge on the panel for this, but is your awards programs of financial services. Can you talk us through how that came about and how that helps grow the brand of WeMoney?
Yeah, definitely. So we got questions from our members, as sort of thinking, who's the best for value, or who's the best excellent rates and fees, or who gives the best customer service, and we also it was identified early on from our partners as well around how can you you've got this audience, we are really interested in sort of using and leveraging awards, but the audience that WeMoney's got is completely different to any other sort of awards or sort of reviews platform in Australia, and we sort of took a step back and thought, well, at its core, what's the way that we can help Australians identify that sort of mark and seal of our approval, which really, really sort of hones into our brand of long-term decisions, helping our members do the right thing, and also, through sort of osmosis, help those brands as well who choose to feature the award. And that was where we sort of gave birth to our financial services awards.
Yep.
But really excitingly, over the last few months, we've actually taken that same sort of ethos and belief around everyday Australians seeing the WeMoney badge out in market, and these same people who are purchasing, insurance and home loans and superannuation are also the same people that are going to the grocery store, that are going and buying consumer electronics, and we've actually just launched our awards across retail as well. And this is everything from now home appliances through to, and think toasters, microwaves, kettles, slow cookers, all the way through to
air fryers.
Air fryers we did recently, televisions, and all of these other products that people walk down the aisles and sort of think, suddenly there's the We Money badge. I really believe in this brand. And, when they say something's best for value, that means it is best for value and I really believe it. And it helps those brands to really sort of cut through the noise in a retail setting and can help them sort of, sell more products and reach more people as well, which is an important part to us as well.
Genius. And the other thing you're humbly not mentioning, I suppose, is that lifts We Money's brand in turn, right? So you are being associated with quality, with the integrity of giving a sort of unbiased opinion of how to help consumers, but you're also able to get that reach of the We Money brand out to into a lot more sort of parts of the market that you otherwise wouldn't reach, right?
100%, and it's quite sort of humbling and joyous experience to walk past a bank branch or a billboard and see the We Money logo there, and it's a very, very exciting moment for us. But it also sort of helps, when it reaches more members and more Australians who know our brand, it builds that too. Yeah. But it only then helps brands down the line because it continues to increase, the exposure and credibility of the award.
Just spins the flywheel. Yeah.
It does, and it makes it much more powerful for everyday consumers. More of them know about it. They see it, more and more occasions over time, whether it's in a retail setting, whether it's, shopping for financial products online. But for brands as well, that then is creating another, flywheel where the more people know about the award, it's doing, better for them, then more people know about the award and so on and so forth. Yeah. So yeah, it's really, really exciting.
Yeah. Oh, well, you'll be the new choice magazine of Australia. It's brilliant. Mate, congratulations on what you and the team have achieved. 500,000 downloads is a remarkable achievement. We've said that already, but it bears repeating. What could possibly be next for the future that you can share? I'm sure you've got plenty of plans and eyes in the fire. But
there's always there's always some things we can share. Always some things that we can't share that we like to suddenly sort of rip the rip the veil off in sort of bit sort of dramatic fashion. Yeah. What's next for us? We have our eyes and sort of so focused on the Australian market right now, and helping as many people in Australia with their money and finances is our ultimate goal. That is really exactly what we want to do. It's a market that we know. It's a market that we love. It's a market where everyday consumers really enjoy the product that we deliver. It's a market that a lot of the brands love what we deliver as well. And becoming unequivocally number one in Australia for our personal finance management platform is all we've got our eyes set on. We're close.
Love it.
But we want to be number one without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep. Love it. Very exciting, mate. What's one big piece of advice you could give to other heads of growth and partnerships or people who are in charge of growth for their business? What's one big piece of advice you'd like to share?
Track absolutely everything, like down to the minute.
Yep.
Optimize for mindset.
Yep.
When you recruit, in a fair way, be really, really sort of harsh on yourself around the results that you're delivering, and you'll look back and see so many moments of magic.
Honest
in that time, and be very, very honest. But when there's so much sort of noise going on about new exciting things you could be working on, that sort of ultimate focus that you can have on doing 10 things that all sort of work towards the same outcome. It's not just doing one point of focus,
right?
Is really, really important as well. And that sort of focus on, we want to be at this place in the Australian market. We want to be number one. Here's the 15 to 20 things that we need to go and, sort of execute, and that's it, and just go and absolutely achieve them.
Love it. Well said, mate. All right, we're getting to the end of the episode. Something we always do on Weird Growth is a little bit of show and tell time. So I'd love to hear what your favourite tool, toy, gadget, bit of software, the thing that helps you in your life day to day that you couldn't live without?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
I thought you were going to ask something like this because I listened to Dan's podcast and I knew that you asked him and others around sort of their sort of favorite gadgets. Well, a couple. Number one, there's a browser called Arc. It's built by the browser company in New York. It's this very sort of cool, well-designed browser, but at its core, productivity tools on it are off the chain.
Yep.
Absolutely love using it.
Arc, A-R-C.
A-R-C. And
all right, we'll pop the link in the notes.
I don't know if they're still sort of waitlisting people, but I had to wait like 3 months to get access to a browser.
One of those.
And it sort of felt a little bit like I was being sort of like gaslighted by a piece of software to like, let me in. But no, it's really, really powerful and great. And I, outside of WeMoney, I haven't recommended many sort of pieces of software.
Yep.
Another one which I think is very, very cool and I want to sort of play around more with is I got a rental car recently. I was on holiday and it had CarPlay. And I think the way that CarPlay takes over an interface of your car and uses the sort of power of your phone to make things sort of fast and snappy, and what people expect, those sort of like dual frame LCD screens where you've got to like push in with your finger like really, really hard.
Yep.
It's all slow, is like a little bit of the past. But I think what CarPlay is doing is really, really cool, and what sort of Apple's built there is really fantastic. And I'm keen to see how it takes over more of the car. I think it's really innovative. It's really, really innovative. Think of phones in the last 15 years. It's still a piece of metal with a screen and a couple of cameras, and the screen's gotten better and the cameras have gotten better and all of these things. But I think, what's the piece of what's going on with CarPlay and how it could eventually sort of take over more components of your car 100%. in a good way is it just fascinates me. And I love cars as well. So that's kind of like a tech plus car equals something that really gets me going. But
nice. Love it.
I really like it.
I'm a Google boy, a bit of an anti-Apple guy, and Android Auto is equally cool. So
I've heard good things.
Just to provide a bit of balance there.
I'm not discriminating at all, but I'm sure they've got something that's absolutely fantastic as well.
Thank you. Final plug of WeMoney, and if anyone's interested in getting involved or learning more, what should they do? Well,
if they want to learn more, it's available on the App Store.
Yep.
Go and download it.
Store.
We just call it the App Store.
But Play Store, sorry.
Whether it's your whether it's on your iPhone or your Apple, your iPad, I think with the new Macs, you can now use WeMoney on the Mac.
Right, cool.
Through the sort of M1. But nice. If you do want to go check it out, you do want to have a play around, it's free, 100% on the App Store. Go and download it today. And if you want to get in touch, I'm not going to read my email address or an email address out of here. Jump onto the website.
You don't want people just randomly emailing you, or you don't want randoms, all our beautiful listeners out there in Weird Growth Land just randomly hitting you up. Maybe not.
hello@wemmoney.com.au and we see everything that comes through there around feedback from our members, partnerships, anything to do with our awards out in market, all sort of comes through there, and that's the best way to get in touch. But we'd really appreciate having me on, Cam. It's so much fun, sort of coming to talk about something that behind the scenes in a startup is really, really tough and hard, and talking about all of the really fun things that we've done and great things that we've done over the last couple of years has been a wonderful process. I've really, really loved it.
Mate, it is an incredible achievement, honestly, what Dan and you and the team have done, particularly out of Australia. Like it's unique in a lot of ways, what you've achieved, and it's just been wonderful learning a little bit under the hood about what you've what's gone into doing that. And it's very much people talk about overnight success. What you've achieved in 2.5 years normally would take 10 years for most people. So it's been an awesome journey to sort of be at the sidelines and witness. So thank you so much, Matt, for being on Weird Growth and sharing that story with us. Really appreciate it, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. anytime, please come back. Maybe in 2.5 years, it'll be 5 million as opposed to 500,000, or you'll be global. Who knows? I love WeMoney personally. If you haven't checked it out, please do go out and download it, give it a whirl. It's an amazing product, what the guys have built. So please do check it out. But thank you all out there for listening to Weird Growth. I'm Cam Sinclair at Ammo Marketing. Our guest has been Matt Ikin. Really appreciate having him on. If you enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and leave us a review. It really helps us reach more people and continue doing what you do. But until next time, this has been Weird Growth. Bye-bye.